Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And this would be our part 4, which is a final DevOps Interview Masterclass video. And this isn't a video where I would be reading the interview questions to you, but I would explain you what exactly is the interviewer looking out for, what are the common questions they generally ask, and the common mistakes that we tend to do after asking these questions. What kind of answers usually the experienced DevOps engineers give. And if you have any interview that is coming up, stay with me until the end because this will be really helpful video for you to understand what exactly is running back in the interviewer's mind. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. So we are now looking at the HR round. So what do you understand about the HR round? So why should we hire you? Tell me about yourself. Why are you leaving? Are the most common questions that the HRs ask. So before jumping into the HR round, I would like I would first make you understand like why they ask these questions and what exactly going on into the HR's mind when they are asking you the question. So they don't want to understand any technical part over here. They are into understanding whether we should hire this candidate, whether this candidate is fitting into our company or not, what kind of behavior this candidate has. So that exactly is what they are looking out for. So most of the time after giving all the interview everything, the HR is not coming back, they are doing ghosting. It's very common, like they are not coming up with an offer letter. So this is what we can avoid by giving the exact answers during the HR round. So if they're asking, tell me about yourself, we found this question a very common question, and the introduction itself, we feel like we will talk too much so they will get impressed, or we will keep it short. No, they are looking out for some of the important things. So we will go with the five method. The first thing is that you have to tell your experience. The second part is about your skills, you need to mention your skills. The third part is what outstanding sorry before outstanding, you need to explain your day-to-day activities. After that, you explaining your activities, then you can go with the key value, that is your fourth point. Any outstanding achievement that you do will be the fourth point, and the fifth one would be like why you want to change the company. So this should be a combination of the five things. I'll give you an example. Like, I have an over of 11 years of experience in IT industry with a strong expertise in Azure clouds, Kubernetes, Docker, Terraform pipelines, and automation. What did I say? I told about my experience. Second, I'm working as a technical lead where my responsibilities include managing cloud infrastructure, automating deployment, monitoring production environments, troubleshooting critical incidents, and collaborating with development and operation teams. So, to ensure that I have reliable application delivery, this is my day-to-day activities. Third is one of my key achievements have been implementing infrastructure as a code, that is IAC using Terraform, and I improved deployment efficiency through automation. Azure DevOps pipeline will significantly reduce the manual effort that we take every day and deployment time. This is the achievement that has done a business impact which is happening because of me in the team. So this is the third point. The fourth would be I'm passionate about learning new cloud technologies, solving production challenges, and I'm continuously improving automation processes. This is a positive thing that I'm talking about, and I'm looking for an opportunity where I can contribute to large scale cloud projects, work with modern DevOps practices, and continue growing both technically and professionally. Comes as a fifth last point, which is the reason why I'm exactly looking for a change. So many candidates continue speaking because they feel nervous. Don't do that. Let the interviewer ask the next question. And the common mistakes is, don't say my hobbies is watching movies. Nobody is hiring you because of Netflix. Don't explain your entire education history. Don't mention irrelevant technologies. Keep your answer focused on the role you're applying for. So there would be a pro tip that I'm giving you. This answer is as your personal advertisement of your skills, and you have only 1 minute to convince the HR that you are worth knowing. So every sentence, make it like it counts. Now I'd like you to do something. Try introducing yourself in a minute and come back and compare your answer with of mine. I'll promise you'll immediately notice areas where you can improve. I hope you have introduced yourself, and I am hoping that the interviewer is also interested. So let's go to the next question. Next question will be, why should we hire you? Now, this question makes candidates uncomfortable. Like, why you think you're suitable for your role? It's a similar one. Some become overconfident, others become too humble, but the best answer is lying somewhere in the middle. Now let's understand what the interviewer is actually asking. They are not asking you by this question like how amazing you are. They are asking what value will you bring to our organization. So instead of talking about yourself, talk about how you are solving the business problems. So just think like an interviewer. Imagine you're hiring someone, and would you hire a person who says, I'm hardworking, I am probably this, I'm probably that? No, I don't think every candidate says that. Now imagine someone say, I have automated deployment with pipelines that reduce deployment time and minimize manual errors, or I enjoy solving production issues and continuously improve infrastructure through automation. Now, which answer sounds stronger? Exactly, the second one, because it's backed by the real work, by the real experiences that you carry. So, perfect answer would be, example, I believe I can contribute my day one because my experience closely matches the responsibilities for this role. Over the past 11 to 12 years, I've worked extensively within the cloud, within Azure Cloud, the DevOps, the ADO, Kubernetes, Docker, Terraform, and CI/CD automation. Beyond the technical expertise, I also enjoy identifying any repetitive manual tasks so that I can automate them, which improves the efficiency and reduces operational risk. And I have applied it in my project, and you can set by giving examples. I've also worked on production support, incident troubleshooting, deployment automation, and cross functional collaboration within the development QA and the infrastructure teams. I'm someone who enjoys learning new technologies, taking ownership of the problems, and believes in continuous improvement. So I believe these qualities will allow me contribute positively towards the team while continuing to grow professionally. So notice something. I never said I'm the best. I simply explained the value that I bring. That's what generally gets appreciated in an interview. And the common mistakes are, don't say because I'm hardworking, because I need a job, because I have problems in my house, because my company is not that great, your company is very famous. Those answers don't tell the interviewer how you are going to help their business. And a pro tip over here would be, whenever possible, use the numbers. If you have come across the numbers in your project, it would be great. For example, I automated deployment that reduced the deployment time from 45 minutes to 10 minutes. Numbers build credibility. So whenever you're working, just make a note of the numbers. Try to understand like how much impact it has been and present that in your interview. So that will definitely add credibility to it. So in this particular part one or this slide, what we understood is the HR round. What HRs are really evaluating, how confidently you can work with the 5 points and tell me about yourself, and how to answer why should we hire you with confidence. Remember, HR interviews are not about memorizing answers, but they are about communicating your value and clearly and professionally. Now, in the next part, we are covering three questions that many of us, many of the candidates struggle with. Why are you leaving your current company? What are your strengths and weaknesses and your career goals? And I'll show you how exactly to answer them without rehearsing or giving answers that could cost the job. And you're finding this series helpful, then please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and share it with someone who is preparing for the interview. So let's go to the next part. Excellent. So now we have the part two, that why are um, you leaving, or your strength and weaknesses, or your career goals. So let's go to the strength and weaknesses. So now you have done with introducing yourself confidently. You have explained why the company should hire you. At this point, the interviewer is now beginning to understand your technical skills and experience. But there comes a questions. Many candidate gets nervous. Um, it is like, what are your technical strengths? So this is not exactly a time to list 10 qualities about yourself. The interviewer wants to know what strengths will actually help you to perform this job. So you can choose 2 to 3 strengths that match your role. Strong examples I would give, but it cannot be similar to everyone, depends upon your personality and how you handle the situation. Example, in our DevOps roles, generally we need to have the problem solving mindset, an automation mindset, troubleshooting or doing RCA. Collaboration is a must between the team. Continuous learning so that we be up to date with the latest technologies therein, and taking an ownership, being proactive. So don't just say them, explain them in a positive way how you have contributed in your day-to-day activities. So a perfect answer can be, one of my biggest strength is troubleshooting production issues. So I enjoy analyzing the logs, identifying what exactly caused the problem, restore the services as quickly as possible without keeping anything pending, and also making sure like the stakeholders are informed about it. um, so that can be one of the strength. Again, one more example I can give you is about automation. So if you find any repetitive manual task, you pause, you look for the ways that way we can automate it using the automation tools like pipeline scripting, or maybe in infrastructure we can go with Terraform. So we believe like automation can be really helpful, where it can reduce the manual efforts. Another example you can give is continuous learning, because technologies are evolving rapidly, and staying up to date helps us to deliver the better solutions. So that can be your strength. So what just happened? We didn't just say I'm a problem solver, but we actually proved it by telling them how we are doing it. So real example is like, imagine we have a deployment takes 45 minutes every week, but instead of accepting, you go ahead and automate the deployment, so now it's finishing in like 10 to 15 minutes. Now that's a strength, not because you said like automation, but because you are demonstrating it, and you can actually tell how you have demonstrated. So interviewers like when you give them measurable results of what exactly you do. Now the common mistake that you can avoid is generic answers. Again, like, I'm honest, I'm punctual. These are the things almost everyone do, and all the candidates tell that. Instead, support your strengths with the examples. So now we have done with the strengths. Let's go ahead with the weaknesses. Now, weaknesses isn't designed to expose your weaknesses or your flaws or your negative points. They are designed to test two important things. Are you self aware? Are you willing to improve that? So never answer, I don't have any weaknesses and I'm perfect, because no one is perfect in this world. Nobody will believe that. Instead, choose a genuine weakness that you're actively working on. And the perfect answer, not perfect, but nearby to the perfect answer can be, earlier in my career, I focused heavily on solving technically problems before updating the stakeholders. So this is like a bit of flaw. But during one experience or a production incident, I realized while solving the issue, it's important keeping everyone informed, because there can be a communication lag. Since then, I have developed the habit of providing regular status updates while continuing the investigation. So this has improved communication and helped building the trust across the teams. So now you can notice something. I have not told any weakness that is very much dangerous, but yes, it does have some impact. And if you have already shown how you're improving, that's what exactly the interviews are looking out for. So weaknesses, few examples in real time are like public speaking or delegation, time estimation, communicating during incidents. Please don't give an example like, I can't work under pressure, I don't like teamwork, I struggle with deadlines. These are red flags, because they can really cause a lot of issues in the day-to-day activities. Now I would give you a challenge. Write down one real weakness and now ask yourself, what am I doing to improve it? And that's going to be your interview answer. Great. So now the interview knows who you are today. Now about your future. Where do you see yourself in the next few years? So these are your career goals. They want to know, they want to understand. Now, most of us make common mistakes. Either we say, I haven't thought about it and go blank, or we say, I want to become a VP, I want to become a CEO. Neither of the answers create confidence because most of them don't sound very much practical. Because your goals generally should show ambition, but they should also sound realistic. It's great that you think that you want to become a VP or a CEO, but what measurable steps you can do or create to reach to that stage should also be realistic. So instead of going through absolutely knowing nothing or having a very bigger goal, go for a short term goal like going into step by step. And a good short term role would be focusing on learning. In the next 2 to 3 years, I want to strengthen my expertise, uh, where I can learn more about cloud, Kubernetes, or CI/CD, or any new cloud technology that is coming in. So these are like helpful to contribute in the challenging enterprise projects. This is like a short term because you are doing it in a short term way every day, little by little. And a long term goal, you can have an example that you are ready to show leadership. So now you are at a base level, but you have learned, you have got some more exposure. Now you are ready to coach other people, or you are ready to help other people. So over the next 5 to 7 years, I see myself growing into a cloud architect or a DevOps manager, or I can lead a cloud team with new initiative, mentor the engineers around me, help the organization build scalable and secure platforms. So that can be like a long-term goal that you're looking out for. So whatever your goal is, you mention it. Connect it back to the company. Like, I believe this role will provide the right environment to achieve while contributing to my team success. Whatever the goal is, you can write it down and understand how it can help. So, this is like a learning mindset, long term goal, and a short term goal that you can present yourself. So, so far we have covered the most common HR questions, and but the interview isn't yet over. In the next part, we will go ahead and see about this managerial round, where the interviewers evaluate your leadership, teamwork, conflict resolution, decision making skills. We'll also learn about the STAR, the STAR method, one of the most effective techniques for answering behavioral interview questions, and we'll work through RCA, root cause analysis, using real production example. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Great. So now comes the round where many experienced professionals underestimate, which is the managerial round. So unlike technical interviewers, there are usually no right or wrong answers here. Like what is any technical question, like what is a CI/CD pipeline, or what is a Terraform, and you answer it correctly. It's nothing like that over here. The managerial round is not like the technical interviews. It's instead they want to understand how do you think, how is your brain designed to handle under pressure, how you work with pressure, what kind of a response you give. So let's dive into the managerial round. So when people hear the managerial round word, actually it matters for every DevOps engineer because it's not about just writing a YAML file or deploying the application, but it would be like every day you will be working within the team, within the developer, security team, cloud architect, project manager, stakeholders. So your ability to collaborate with them matters, how well you can communicate, that also matters along with your technical skills. So now you have a conflict within the team and how you're handling it. That is something a manager will look out for. So have you ever disagreed with anyone among your team or with a developer? Maybe they wanted to deploy something immediately, but you believe the deployment wasn't ready. Then what you did in such case? So many candidates say maybe I'll tell them they are wrong, but that's not the collaboration. They don't want this answer. They want to know, like, how do you solve the disagreements and in a professional way. So whenever there is a disagreement, I can give an example like first priority to understand is to understand the other person's perspective. So I believe personally, like most of the conflicts happen because different people have different way of looking at things and we have different priorities, not because we want the project to fail, but because we have a different perspective totally. So you have to be a good listener. You have to listen carefully and explain your concern in a way that you are using technical facts, not just assumptions. Then work together with the other person to find a better solution for the project. If after doing all this also you're not reaching an agreement, then you can involve a better hierarchy person like an appropriate lead, or maybe an experienced person like an architect, but keeping the discussion very much respectful and focus on solving problem rather than proving the other person wrong or getting too personal into it. This is very much important when we have a conflict within the teammates. You can have a real production example. Imagine we have a developer who wants to deploy hotfix directly into the production because customers are reporting a bug. Now, at the same time, we notice that the required testing is not being completed. So we have the urgency on both the sides. So instead of simply saying, no, no, you cannot do that, there are this risk, there are that, you cannot do that, you have to discuss the alternative approaches. You have to work together to find a safe solution. Perhaps deploying it to the staging environment first, using a control rollout, that's called as collaboration, and that's what generally the interviewers or the manager want to hear. Teamwork is very much important, but what about leadership? Many people think leadership only applies to managers, but that's not true. It's um it's not like a manager is supposed to have leadership, and only if you have the title as manager in your job, then only you will have the leadership thing in your work. No, it is not like that. Leadership means also taking ownership of your work. So it means like helping yourself and your teammates to now if we have a production incident, who will coordinate the communication, who will volunteer the investigation, and trust me, these things is noticed within the teammates when we do it. Who keeps everyone updated? Now that's being proactive, that's taking the leadership, and that shows when you're talking to the manager and they generally come to know like whether you're the right candidate who will do these things. So I believe leadership is about ownership rather than designation. So whenever I identify an issue, I take responsibility, investigate it, collaborate within the team, communicate to everyone the progress, and support my teammates whenever needed. I enjoy mentoring junior engineers, sharing knowledge with the team, and help everyone to grow. Now, a pro tip: interviewers, managers, they generally like or appreciate when you use the terms like ownership, collaboration, mentoring, continuous improvement, accountability, because this all matters. It gives a lot of business impact. So try naturally including this in your answers with the examples, because I believe like every one of us do some or the other things every day in our day-to-day activities, and it's very much important that it adds value to us and we bring out that value when we are expressing this to the managers. Let's go to one of the most powerful techniques which we can learn today, the STAR method. I keep on talking about the STAR method a lot because it really works. STAR means situation, task, action, and result. So whenever you are asked, tell me a challenging situation about anything XYZ, like a production issue that you have handled. So given an example of a time you solved a difficult problem, and then we can have this framework. Have a situation, the task that you have to do, the action that you took, and the result that you have come. Situation, task, action, result works 100%. Let's understand each one with a real DevOps example here. Situation will be the background. So what happened? So a new application release was deployed, and immediately users started reporting login failures. This is just an example. So what responsibility was my responsibility in this? As an engineer, as a DevOps engineer, for the production support, my objective was to have the services up and running quickly while minimizing the business impact. This was my responsibility, the task. Now, this was the task. What action did I do? This is the important part. You understand there is a situation, it was reported, you understood what is your task over here, but what did you do after that? So I checked immediately the deployment logs. I reviewed the pod logs, identified there was a configuration mismatch in the application, and then used the rollback to deployment, the previous stable version, corrected the configuration, validated the FISC in the staging environment, and then redeployed it successfully. Now notice you're not focusing on your actions, not just what the team did, but everything totally what happened in total. So as a result, what was the outcome? Service was restored, customer impact was minimized. We added a deployment validation step. This is very important to prevent the issue from rehappening again. We generally spend 80% of our answer explaining this problem, but the manager or the interviewer is much more interested when we keep the situation and task brief and keep most of the time for explaining what we did, the action and the result. That should have more focus than the situation and the task because they are interested in knowing how you have handled it. So now you have solved the issue, the application is working again, but is your job finished? Just think. I don't think yet. Because now comes the most important responsibility of a DevOps engineer, which is doing the RCA. Now we get confused like we have done this means we have done the RCA. No. Now RCA is totally different. It is like you are having a root cause analysis, identifying the issue, having the fix and preventive the reoccurrence. Now I'll give you a real world scenario. Imagine it's a midnight situation and the application goes wrong and you have an alert. The customers can't log in. You work the issue, restore the service, everyone is relieved. Next morning, your manager asks a simple question. Why did this happen? What was the reason? So now that is root cause analysis. Fixing the problem is important. Of course, it is the most important thing, but understanding why it is important is much more important. Why? Because it is going to prevent it from reoccurring again. And this is what separates a good engineer from a great engineer. So now we'll understand what exactly is RCA. RCA is a structured process used to identify the actual reason behind an incident instead of just fixing the symptoms. A real world example is we have a server which got crashed. Why it got crashed? Because the disk was full. Deleting the files fixed today's problem. But now I want to understand, will the disk not become full again? So the manager won't ask, okay, fine, you deleted the files and now the problem is resolved. He'll ask why the disk became full. Will it not happen again? So now the first place would be doing the RCA. Maybe log rotation wasn't configured. Maybe backups are not auto cleaned or never get cleaned up. Maybe the monitoring alerts are not in place. So now that is a root cause that we need to fix. Now, RCA process is generally identifying the issue, what exactly happened, when did it happen, which users or services got affected, whole users got affected or only part of the users got affected, collect the evidences. Usually we are using Azure monitors, application insights, DevOps pipeline logs, raw logs, Kubernetes logs, all logs, system, database, never guess. Use evidence. Then why? Ask why multiple times to yourself. Like application stopped working, why? Database connection failed, why? Password changed, why? Secret wasn't updated in Azure keyword. Why? No password rotation process. Why? Now you'll find the real issue. Now, after that, we have to implement the fix. Correct the configuration, update the secrets, update the configs, restart the application, validate the service. And the step 5 is prevent future incidents. Most important step: monitoring alerts, automation, validation checks, documentation, regular reviews, improve deployment process. This goal is just to solve not today's issue, but to ensure it doesn't happen again. What can be the good answer now after going through the RC and understanding it clearly is: whenever I handle a production incident, my first priority is restoring the services quickly so that there is minimized business impact. Once system is stable, I perform RCA. How I do it? By reviewing logs, monitor data, deployment history, configuration changes. I identify what was the cause, implement the required fix, validate the solution, document the findings, and introduce preventive methods such as monitoring, automation, process improvement, and reduce the chances of reoccurrences. So, before going to rapid fire, what did we learn? How to answer managerial questions, demonstrate leadership without having a manager title, how to use the star STAR method, how to explain RCA. These topics are very much frequently asked because they don't want engineers who just don't know technologies. They want professionals who can communicate, collaborate, take ownership, and continuously improve the systems that they are having. Now we'll go to the final part of this masterclass, which are some rapid fire interview questions around it. We'll cover the Kubernetes, Docker, Terraform, Azure, and DevOps questions. So let's get started. So, first of all, I would like to congratulate if you have watched the video till this point, because you have learned how to handle HR questions, manager interview, behavior question using STAR method, and even how to explain RCA like an advanced pro DevOps engineer. Now, this is something exciting which we will do. Um, I'll ask you a question and I'll explain you the answer also. So, if you're ready, let's begin. Question 1 is pod. You have to answer it by yourself. Okay, so the answer should be: a pod is the smallest deployable unit in Kubernetes. It contains one or more containers that share the same network and storage. In most of the cases, we have a single application container that runs inside a pod. Now I'll ask you second question and I'll first try to answer it in your own words and then I'll give you the correct answer. What is the difference between pod and a deployment? Okay, a pod runs an application, but it doesn't automatically recover if it fails. Deployment manage pods, ensure desired number of replicas are running, and support rolling, update, and rollbacks. Next question: what is a service? I hope you have answered it. A service provides a stable network endpoint. It is a network endpoint for accessing pods. Pods can be created and destroyed dynamically. So hence we have a service to make sure like applications are always communicating using a consistent IP and a DNS name. Let's go to the next question. What is an ingress? Okay, so I'll put it forth like this, that it is used to manage the external HTTP and HTTPS access to services inside the Kubernetes cluster. It has the features of URL routing, SSL termination, and virtual hosting. What is an HPA? It's very simple. Horizontal pod autoscaler automatically increases or decreases number of pod replicas based on CPU, memory, or custom metrics. If you answered all 4 or 5 correctly, you're doing great. Now let's move to Docker. First question, what is the difference between an image and a container? Okay. Image is a read-only template and it is used to create a container. However, contain is a running instance of that image. Second question, why do we use volumes? Volumes means persistent data outside the container. So even if it's lost when container gets removed or recreated, we have it in the volume. So it is a data, persistent data outside the container. Question 3, what is a Docker networking? Okay. So Docker networking is enabling the containers to communicate with each other and with external systems. And while doing it, it is isolated. Whenever needed, it is used, but it is isolated. Great. So these were few of the rapid fire Docker questions. Let's go to rapid fire Terraform. I'll quickly answer. This is very simple. We have this 5 questions generally asked. What is Terraform init? It initializes Terraform working directory and downloads the required providers. Terraform plan shows what infrastructure changes Terraform will make before applying them. Terraform apply, create, update, or delete infrastructure based on the plan, the executive plan. Terraform state, it displays or manages the Terraform state file which tracks the deployed infrastructure. What is backend or remote backend? A remote backend stores Terraform state in its central location, such as in Azure we have Azure storage account. So we have team collaboration and state locking features over here. Excellent. So let's move to Azure now. We'll see what is AKS, VNet, NSG, Key Vault, and Azure Monitor. Azure Kubernetes Service is Microsoft managed Kubernetes platform. Microsoft is managing the control plane while customers manage the workload. What is VNet? Virtual network, private network of Azure, securely connecting Azure resources. NSG, network security group, controlling inbound and outbound traffic using security rules. Key Vault, storing secrets, certificates, and encryption keys. Monitor, collecting metrics, logs, alerts. Log analytic, enabling querying and analyzing log data using KQL, that is Kusto query language. Now, final with Azure DevOps. What is Repos? Git repository for source code management. Pipeline, automating build, test, and deployment. Artifacts, storing shared packages like Nugget, NPM, Maven, Python across the teams. YAML, human readable language used to define CI/CD pipeline as a code, making them version controlled and reusable. Now, if you found some of these questions difficult, don't worry or uh, about it. You can just revise these topics and come back and test yourself again. Now, questions to ask the interview. Very much important after the interview is over. Now there are, yeah, something most of us forget, like at the end of the interviews here, do you have any questions for us? Please don't say like, no, I don't have any questions. It gives a very bad impression. This is the opportunity where you can show your curiosity and professionalism. So you can ask like, what does success looks like for someone in this role for the first 6 months, or what you're expecting me for the first 6 months. Or you can ask, what is the biggest technical challenge which our team is currently working on, or your team likewise, or what does DevOps tool chain look like today? Are there any modernization initiative plans? What are the opportunities that are available for learning, certification, or mentoring? These questions demonstrate a very much of a genuine interest in the role and the team's future. Now we have the salary negotiation. Now, let's talk about one of the most uncomfortable part of any interview. Many candidates either ask too little, remain underpaid because they are nervous, or after remaining underpaid, they directly ask for an unrealistic number without understanding the market. So, we have a three-step approach. Before the interview, understand what is the market salary range for your role, the location where you stay, and your experience level. This will give you a fair idea of the market standards. Then you have to explain your value, like why are you setting up this much for your package? Like highlight the skills that you have worked, the experience what you're bringing, your total years of experience, and you stay a bit flexible. Like you're looking for a competitive package, however, you are also interested in the overall opportunity and career growth, so you're very much flexible. Never say salary is very much important, because learning opportunities also are, work life balance, technology stand, lot of other things are there, like long term career growth, which also is important while doing a salary negotiation. So now we have, after this we whole video, the final interview checklist that we have to do is, before every interview, spend just 15 minutes, which is really helpful, which can make a huge difference. Read your resume clearly, because they open your resume and then they ask you the questions. Review your projects. What projects you have done, just go back and understand, because of your experience can vary and you might forget few of the things that you have done in your earlier projects. So be ready to explain your contributions. Revise the core concepts of DevOps. If you are not done something but you still understand the concept, that also is very much helpful. Practice common HR and managerial questions. Prepare one or two star method examples, and also test your laptop, microphone, internet, your battery, everything should give a good positive approach, not like your battery is going down suddenly, your voice is not clear. Keep a notebook or a pen nearby if you want to note down something, and join the interviews at least 5 minutes early. Finally, have a smile on your face, take a deep breath, be confident. Remember, the interviewer already saw something promising in your profile. That is why you are here, not the other people whose profiles they randomly have gone through. Now, your job is just to demonstrate what you already know. And that's it. Congratulations on completing our part 4 of DevOps Interview Masterclass. I hope this series helped you from beginning. Now we have covered Linux, Docker, Kubernetes, and lot of other parts, and also the HR interviews and managerial interviews. I hope it helped you. I would love to hear from you. Comment below. I am DevOps ready. Which interview question has challenged you the most? Which topics you would like me to cover next? Until then, keep learning, keep building, keep automating, and remember, every expert was once a beginner who never stopped learning. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy learning.